Thank you. We'll not be reading them. Okay. Moving on to report and presentation agenda. We have the staff reports, monthly finance report from Brian Wallace, CFO.
Well, Madam Chair, members of the board, Dr. Meyer. So this is the monthly finance report for August. We're always a month behind. And again, there are some changes from last month. The first one you'll notice on the revenue side is that we received, almost $12 million from the state for our foundation. The state, the way they fund this is they front load our state. It is actually a nice thing that the state does because we have a lot of our costs sort of hit us at the start of the year. Our insurance, liability insurance, our workers' comp insurance, contracts for like our student information system and our finance system, all those sort of start at the start of the year. So having that money up front really at the end of the year, they sort of base this payment on our budget, and then at the end of the year, it's trued up to our actual attendance and what we earned. So anyway, that does show, the revenues there, and that's most of the revenues that we've recorded for this fiscal year is that payment. On the expenditure side, most of the costs in the elementary and school program most of our teachers when the contracts start, but we do have to come back. Assignments start in August, so those costs. Our salary costs are always a little behind reporting wise the way we do our accounting. But if you look on the expenditure side and compare from previous years, this year we're at 5.2%. Last year 4.6, but the year before 5.69. So really you're around 5%. So every year is different. This year is going to be way different probably than in a year with some of the outside forces that are happening this year. But I'm still sort of tracking to what we've done in the past. Our revenues, you can see, are very similar, and that really is just in relation to that big payment that comes in and is pretty consistent. So really get a better look at our finances we get through the first 3 months of September, October, and November, our first quarter of payroll. We also have a better idea of our enrollment and sort of have an idea of the revenue side, and then we'll see where we're tracking. This will definitely wise on. We may not follow a typical pattern because it's not going to be a typical year. I did quickly look at enrollment numbers. Usually, we have enrollment numbers for future finance reports. We'll sort of show those and share that with the board. Very preliminary. We're down a little bit from last year if we compare, the dates, but only about 3%. And of course, we'll see how it goes for this first couple weeks. But I've talked with some of my counterparts, and they're seeing some similar type numbers in our neighboring districts. Some a little better, but many a little worse. So I think that we're doing a pretty good job getting the kids back to school, and so I feel pretty good about that. Being down. I think that just is happening probably across the country, not just even in our region. The charts, of course, you can look through graphically. You can see that the red will start climbing towards that blue. In some areas, obviously, our facilities we spend during the summer, but other. That's why there's those variances. And by object, of course, again, salaries and benefits is the majority of our budget. And I don't have the enrollment report, and we'll have that for you next month. But do you have any questions?
I didn't receive the hyperlink to that document. I don't know why. It could just be me as well.
What the state did with as far as funding and was that a help to us? I know that they changed the way that we could report the numbers or something, whether it was-
Yeah, that will be a help for sure. So the change they did was if we were going to be able to generate our funding units by our enrollment number as opposed to by our attendance number. So that assumes that whoever we have on the books, as long as that rule stands, that the legislature could change that.
Right.
Let's say assume that stays the state, because the state board made that rule, then effectively we have 100% attendance. So that would be up for the 3%. Or we'll have to see where we land, but that's definitely a helpful rule for all the districts in the state.
Trustee Grissom, one thing to keep in mind is that there's an October and then a October 1 and December 1 enrollment count. There are but even if the enrollment funding stays, it was there's only so much in the pie.
Right.
So even if everyone, just like last spring, everyone's ADA went up because everyone was at home. So of course they were working online and most everyone got near 100% attendance. ADA, that's how we were funded. So even if we move to enrollment funding, it's not like they're going to add more money into the pot. Does that make sense? So
Right.
you still get kind of your percentage.
Right.
So it really depends, like Mr. Wallace was saying, it really settle out at each district. Currently, at least until the legislators come
Right.
back.
Right.
So,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, I think there's and you know, I mean, I think we're in good shape, you know, with our fund balance financially, so that if there was some really unexpected things that we could weather the storm, which is it. Yeah, it sort of makes me nervous because it's not the typical pattern,
Right.
but I think that you know, we just sort of go as we can go. The other thing I should let the board know is that our auditors are in district this week, Thursday, Friday, to do field work, and the first.
Great.
Mr. Wallace, this is for the 2020-2021 year, correct?
Correct.
Okay, because I think we need to update.
Oh, did I have a typo in there?
If you go to the top, this is why I needed the document.
So
no worries. I was a little thrown because I'm like, is this the end of our?
oh, but it is month of August 2020.
No, but if you look at
Oh,
the budget.
Yeah, this is my spreadsheet.
No worries. I just wanted to.
Okay.
Thank
Yes,
you.
You're correct.
Okay. Thank you for the
Thank you.
presentation.
Trustee Johnson,
Yes.
for item E, the LEA update, Jason Bradbury was unable to come tonight.
Okay.
Let me know today, so we'll skip that item.
Okay. Moving on to the K through 8 LOA student welcome.
Good evening. So as you know, we typically like to have some sort of student-centered report for you. It's the first. But we also didn't want to bring anybody today because there's so much going on. So something that we wanted you to see is, and I'm going to let you point it out a little bit. Right now we have in the K-8 Lakeland Online Academy, we have 307 as of today. So one thing that we wanted to, and I just want to give a shout out, Patty Morrison, I told you last time, has been building the airplane while it's been in flight. She's just done a wonderful job. This has been understaffed to start with because we just didn't know where it would settle out. And we aren't making final, which I'll tell you in my superintendent's report, we're not making final staffing decisions until Thursday. We're doing Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, looking at where and I went to the schools today, several schools today, and I'll finish this week before Thursday. But we did put some openings today because they have the numbers that showed up today. We're assuming they'll show up tomorrow and on Thursday. But one thing we wanted to highlight is when people think of online, sometimes people think, oh, it's gonna be easier and there's less engagement, and there's a lot of stereotype about what online could look like. I think Mrs. Morrison has gone above and beyond in working with her staff, and we just wanted to highlight one here, that she will share them all with you, is the feeling that they are having for welcoming, creating a classroom environment online. The relationship between students and with teacher and student. She has been working with her entire staff for the last several weeks to cultivate that and figure out how do you make that a really vibrant relationship, even though it's. So she's gonna point out a few things here. This is just one example. We have several. So do you want to show them how you did the smile face things?
Yes, yeah, thanks, Dr. Meyer. This is Ms. Foster's class, so she'll do a 2-3 split, and so she'll have second graders, third graders, and I think even myself, because it's all come pretty quickly, didn't know how creative and how really warm these classrooms can be, and interactive and engaging. So that is her Google Classroom. Then when she goes here, I mean, this is just the first thing her kids got to see and their families when she sent it home, I believe Friday last week. So there she is, and she's just saying, welcome to our class. Click on the smiley faces to see special messages that will help you to get to know me better. So she's got, you know, personal family photo, and when everything that you click on is a little explanation of just a little bit to have the kids get to know Mrs. Foster, which is what all our teachers do at the beginning of the year anyway. But this is a huge part, because one of the words we're using when we're talking about building this is connections. How are we going to connect families to be able to support them too, because this is new for all the teachers we have, for most of them, besides last spring's quick induction to distance learning and teaching. And this is her bookshelf, so already she's engaging them and sharing with her and get excited and read a whole bunch of books that she loves to have with her kids. And so I think that, I'm trying to think what else. This is the daily schedule that she's, you know, letting parents see, you know, so far as we've gotten into from families to really organized and you know, when she says the staff has been building things, there was me, and then there was what I started calling the big three, because there were just three. So, but we're hiring now, and teachers, and they're all super, super excited and thankful for this year to get to try to do this. Any questions?
We're going, but this has been a really good start.
307.
Yeah.
How many have come on since we moved to yellow?
Because people have dropped off since we moved to yellow.
Okay,
Yeah.
because we had, I thought, at the last meeting over 400.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, and that's one thing I'm going to report on, is that, and you can stay with me if you want, or you can sit down.
I wasn't meaning.
So waiting to.
No, you're good. We didn't want to spend a lot of time, but we really wanted you to know that I just wanted to highlight the fact that there is some tremendous work going on with the teachers that have worked with her, and they're very happy to be able to be at home. And I think they've put in just numerous hours preparing and getting ready. And I just want you to know there's going to be rigor, and there's going to be a robust, that it's going to be Lakeland curriculum that's K through 8. So I feel like it's really going to be a strong program, and just Patty leading it, she's been really good at looking at the whole child, not just the academic piece, but also talking about the connections, the social emotional too. Today, in person, we had at the end of the day, we had 3,625 in person. Last year, remember, we had 4,600. So that, if you just look at where we were last year before we went into COVID to now, we're at 78%. So we had a drop of about 22% if you're just looking at in person, which gives me a little bit of heartburn. Mr. Wallace was talking about. But then we have Lakeland Online Academy, and this is where I really want to delineate for the board. I sent you all the Lakeland Online Academy. We had planned to do K through 12. One that Friday night and before voted yellow, we had high school families go back to and we're not going to be online. Haven't got to the bottom. I don't know. I think the reason why is because they did not want their high school kid to go 2 days a week when we were going to be in orange. And I feel like once we went to yellow, that families were either good. Now my kid can go back. I'm going to put them back into full time, or we're in and there's not enough social distancing and I don't want them to be going. So I don't know where the other people have gone. We're just going to do follow-ups and we will be looking into where the other people have gone. But our K through 8 at Lakeland Online Academy is only K through 8. We could not sustain and have a valid Lakeland Online Academy. Remember, the theory of Online Academy is that we use our teachers, our curriculum, our materials, our instructional pacing calendar, everything that we had talked about before, and they're interacting and watching our teachers so that there would be a fluid if they came out and they maybe were see how the year started and they want to go back into school. There would be a fluid process. That can't happen at the high school level, because when you get to high school level, you need to have certified teachers in all subjects for graduation requirements. So it's not K through 8. You can have a K through 8 teacher and they can teach all subjects for those kids. So there's a lot more flexibility K through 8 than there is when you get to high school level. When we had a decrease in the number of high school students, we sent we need to find an alternate way to help these families that are online. We can't do the regular LOA as we had, designed it. Wasn't going to work. So we came up with a plan. I think we're on D now, maybe, but we're doing an online Play-Doh program. It's endorsed by the state. It's accredited. We have they used to a few years ago, even the state even funded it. They took it away, but it's been funded by the state. So it's a valid program. It's a mastery-based program. We'll take the courses. They work at their own pace. So the difference is it's designed, it's the essential standards for the state. Students could go faster or slower, but it's not asynchronous like that she showed you with here, where there's the time where you're going to have your ELA and you watch it, and then there's the discussion afterwards and you interact on a basis. You have the program online, the standards and the curriculum, and you're working on assignments. That is all set, and you work at your own pace. There are certified teachers that will help for those students, and they can ask for help. They can get one-on-one. They can do a Google Meet, but it's different because it's a self-paced mastery program versus what we had designed before. Right there, before I continue, but does that make sense? Like why we had to change? I just want to make sure people understand that.
How many students do we end up having that still want to go into our online program that we canceled?
So as of right now today, and I spent the whole weekend calling, and we initially had probably 160, 180 signed up, and now we have 45 confirmed as of this afternoon. I've made it clear that it can't be a fluid, so I've talked to all of these folks, all of these parents. It can't be fluid where you have to commit to a minimum is a quarter, and you can get credits for the quarter because they can work on 3 core classes and get the credit by the quarter. Or I would prefer, and I say it would really be good if you could stay for the semester, and then if things settle your child would go back to school, then they could at the semester. But the minimum is a quarter, but would really the best practice would be to at the semester. So we have 45 confirmed as of half an hour ago.
Okay, but I guess the number I'm trying to get at is we went to yellow.
Yep.
And then children started going into the before we canceled the high school program, did we have 45 online students or did we have more?
We had about 180 that had signed up.
So we had 180 students and we canceled the high school program, is that correct?
We canceled the Lakeland Online Academy and said we're gonna have to do it this other way. So we had, and that's because we had, those families were not going to be doing the online. Now we've gone back up to 45. So it's in the positive as far as I'm concerned, because we went from 0 up to 45, which can fund a math and a social studies and ELA teacher for them to be able to have assistance for us, for those programs.
So I'm not speaking the same language, but that's
So
okay.
let me finish this and then we'll see if maybe I'll answer that.
Okay.
So in person, we have 3625. Lakeland Online Academy K-8, we have 307.
Right.
High school 45. And these numbers could go up. Some, you know, we have a lot going on in the world, but also in our community. We have several families who have been evacuated from their homes. We had roads closed, evacuations, fires.
Right.
So I'm suspecting this week that the numbers will go up. But so our total right now is 3977. And so if I look at that total number today for enrollment, because we talked about enrollment funding out of 4,600, which would have been our estimate that we would have projected to come back, we're down 13.5%. I went today, I know something that has been an interest to the board is the social distancing. So I went to several schools today and they looked good. They didn't look cramped. There was a few where they were starting to get where I thought, okay, we might need to move this piece or move this bookshelf or But overall, it felt appropriately social distance. It didn't feel like people were crammed together. It was like this. It felt like there was space. People were happy. There was a lot of smiling people. It wasn't like there was a few rooms that there was a few kids pretty close to the whiteboard. But then I talked to teachers like, well, what if we moved this in the back, and we kind of moved them back about a foot or so, 18 inches back. And then one of the principals and I talked today. We got a thing over the weekend from Panhandle Health. And so we talked about it at AFLA today. If you had and you had the plexiglass things between and you had a group together and they were here and then you did 6 feet before the next group, then if you did have a positive case, that one group, but then you could have some partner work and some teamwork and some grouping going on here, that would be the only group that would have to self-isolate. And that would also help with the numbers for social distancing and classrooms. So we are going to look at that on Thursday. The magic is always on Thursday night of the first week. We look at Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and typically the last that's not the issue this year, but looking at 10 a.m. principals and their team goes and walks the entire school and does a spreadsheet of every classroom. How many students do we have in the classroom that are there today? So we have the enrollment, and then look, we're going to compare that with how many students showed up Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and by Thursday, usually the third day, things settle and we have a good sense of how many people are going to be there. Granted, it could go up or down, but that gives us a really strong sense for Thursday. And then I'll be able to tell the board, this feels like a more solid number for us, and where we need to be for staffing. So, because that's been a lot of the questions before. I did take some board updates, so you perception will give you a sense, but I also saw that kindergarten classroom
Right before school, maybe a half hour before school, but I could tell it was like busy bee, you know, so I just Everybody have a great day. I figured I would make my way back toward the end of the week just to see how everybody was doing and just to encourage everybody. I was happy to see them there. I was just, I really think that when we get back to the kids, see their face, that things will be good.
That's the sense I got today in talking to staff and students. Just at a probably 95 to almost every staff person had a mask on today. All the administrators and staff, almost every single one. I barely saw it. And if I could say the number of students, I probably saw 10 at the most. So in my estimation, I need to finish going to the rest of the schools this week. There'll be some tomorrow and some Thursday, but I will let you know in the update this weekend, like how many. I didn't even see 10 for students. So that's just out of curiosity to let you know that. I really want to point out, it was really nice to see, instead of in a classroom, for a kindergarten class, Amanda Leach did a winner, and I've been to all schools, so I'm sure other schools have done great things as like too, but this is just, I want to point out this one thing. In the gym, you might think, oh, that's a big space, and how can you make a kindergarten classroom in there? It is warm, it's inviting. We went in there and I watched it for probably 15 minutes and interacted and watched. There's a rug, they were social distance, they had their chairs, she had a projector up, they were doing their ABC things. And they had kind of like gymnasium mats on the back, so it kind of had a barrier there, but it didn't feel like, and Mrs. Thomas and I talked about it, it didn't feel like, oh, they're just shoved into the gym. It felt, I would encourage you to go because I just wanted to see it with my own eyes, and we had some people wondering like, is that gonna be okay? Kindergartners, you know how it is with kindergartners, you need them to feel like, you know, this is a safe place and nurturing and we're cultivating, you know what I mean? People that were there were happy. It was good to see. So, and I got the same sense that there's just so much going on, and once people were there and the students are back and you see all those smiling faces, and it was a really positive thing. I also want to point out KTECH, if you didn't see it, he'll send you the link. They had asked if they could come to the schools, several news stations, legally they can be outside and film, you know, First Amendment rights, but I didn't, our plan said that we had to limit visitors, and I didn't think it would be appropriate to have you be inside there, but KHQ did do a very positive story on Twin Lakes Elementary, and they talked to some folks, and families were just really happy. How they really liked the yellow plan and coming back, they liked the pickup. They had a very positive press in. Yes, and I did receive several positive things today from parents as well. So it was that part was really good. I think coming back has been really good. Being in yellow, people feeling my greatest concern is the social distancing. If we get too much coming in, right now we're able to move around, and depending on how we get to Thursday and depending on how many more families come in, then we'll have to look at additional staffing, or maintaining social distancing is going to be my, I think, biggest challenge, to make sure we continue to maintain that. There was a question. A couple years ago, families are just really wanting to only send out a sky alert if school is canceled. Because somebody said like I said, oh, the roads it was like a snow day, and you know, we do it between 4:30 and 5 in the morning. And I had said something like, you know, the roads have been cleared and the snow berms are gone, but be careful, beware of the ice. And I got so many parent responses saying, you can't do it. You can't do it both ways. You need to either only send it out when it's canceled, or, you know, you can't, because then every day, are you going to send one out every day? Like, you can't, how do we know if it's a day where you're making a choice or not? Like, if you just send it out when school's canceled, that's where we get a buzz, like, okay, school's canceled. Sense. So instead, I told them if it was going to be canceled, then they would get the sky alert, which because in Bayview, there's several areas they don't have, and Marlo says you need to do a phone message too, so I do that in the text and the email. But then we can use, if we do the Instagram post, and then it automatically, I can check a thing, it goes to Facebook, people can check it, and then I ask all principals to make sure and put it on their school Facebook as well, because a lot of the parents will check that, so. The one thing that I just remembered, Chrissy, that I forgot is that the snow line, the snow closure, the emergency closure line, I did not do that because that's the other thing. Thank you for reminding me. But, you know, because you asked about that, Trustee Thompson.
I did,
Yeah.
yeah, I was just concerned because I knew that some people still hadn't received their power or their internet yet, and how are they to access it, and we're not letting them know, so that was my concern.
So the other thing we have would be at that call-in line, so if they do have a landline, they can call in, and as many people as need to can call in, and we should record it. We have somebody signed to that, but I usually do it in the winter, we review all of it, but I will make sure we do that too. So overall, really positive, and I will just let you know how the next couple of days go. So thank you for having us back. Everyone seems really happy. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. So that- Okay, so now we have, moving on to the action items. All items are considered action items. We can approve them following a single motion and vote unless there's any questions. Does any of the trustees have questions? August 25th or August 28th board meeting?
I do not.
No.
Okay. Any questions on the HR items?
That I can think of.
No, I mean, there was something that I have to follow up on. I don't remember what it was.
The resignations that we've accepted on the HR items, are those positions being refilled? That's my question.
Do you want to go through them?
Yes, that'd be great.
So yes to can I just go down the positions?
That'd be great.
So yes to the custodian, yes to the dance coach, yes to the volleyball coach, yes to the custodian, yes to the C team, yes to the parapro, yes to the base, yes to the volleyball coach, yes to the science and math teacher.
Okay,
It's actually on tonight's, there
I
is,
saw that.
okay. Yes to the cheer coach, yes to the driver, and yes to the parapro.
Being refilled?
Yes. Thursday,
Okay.
to see, because that was a halftime at Spirit Lake, halftime at Timberlake Junior High School.
Okay.
That allow, and Timberlake Junior High School really needs to would like to have social studies for those that halftime instead of, they don't need the PE.
Okay.
So that's probably where that's gonna be, and then we'll have to see at Spirit Lake where the need is as well.
Okay.
Position replicated, but the FTE will be replaced.
The regular and special bill list.
I do not.
No.
Coming up. I had a couple questions, but
Is the internet or is it your Chromebook?
it's probably my Chromebook.
Here, do you want to look at my Michelle?
Did yours come up? Thank you. Just curious, Mr. Wallace, if I could have some clarification on the out of, what's it called, out of cycle? Or I guess comprehending. Out of cycle means that it's not respective to the current year, correct? Or is that incorrect?
No, out of cycle means just our regular, we try to pay every other week.
Okay,
And there's sometimes, depending on when we get bills and if we're trying to just pay the vendor quicker, that's sort of an out of cycle, like an extra cycle is what I believe we're talking about.
okay, so
We
then,
just ran extra accounts. We can cut check really time and do it on a consistent basis.
okay, so then like there were some field trip meals that were given. What is that about? I'm just. There were field trip meals that were paid out, but I didn't know that we had any field trips. Is this something that's coming up, or is this something?
It was probably for the summer-based program.
Okay,
Yeah, and so they had their, they had a few trips where they went to like Majestic Park and things like that.
okay, so then this is relevant to like what may have occurred over the summer. This isn't something from like January that we're getting now.
No, these are.
Okay, okay.
Yeah,
I just wanted some clarification on that because it didn't, I'm thinking,
sure. Summer-based.
okay, perfect. And
Trustee
then,
Thompson?
yes,
While you're on there, I don't want to go down the rabbit hole, but I do want to
No, no, no.
mention.
Yeah.
Something that I will be bringing to the board
okay,
is there is some annual things. I don't know if you remember at Timberlake High School, there's a conservation. They have a grant and they go and do measure the snow and the water and they're helping with that project. It's a longitudinal project. I'm going to be bringing that to the board because to have the number of buses to go, and I would like them to be able to continue that project. So instead of just saying absolutely no field trips, I feel like they're on a case-by-case basis. If there's the ability for that, I'm going to be bringing that to the board.
that sounds reasonable.
Yeah. So I just wanted to mention it now since you talked about field trips.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you. Yep, all the big tickets were understandable, so, okay, thank you. So,
In the district participate at KTECH. Involvement with KTECH, so this operations budget, that's just part of the agreement with all the districts, or everybody pays that much the first half of the year?
No, we pay less because we're the smallest district.
Okay,
So KTECH is a consortium for the 3 districts. It was started before I got here.
right.
They do a percentage of the size of the district for the number of students. They're really capstone students, and their programs where the 11th and 12th graders finish. And it's basically taking, instead of replicating all the equipment and the 3 districts went together and then bused the students there. And so those students are really our students, and they go to KTECH usually 1 or 2 periods a day.
And is their budget online where we can look at their budget? 14,000 or something.
Yeah, we just
Of the budget?
Yep, and I will find out if it's online, but I can send it to you because all 3 superintendents are on the on the board.
Okay,
And then 1 person from NIC on the board, and then 2 business people. And we just approved the budget at the last meeting, so I will send it to you. Yeah, I'll send it to you.
yeah, thank you.
That's another program that would be great to visit. I know you still have to visit other schools and such, but to see the hand even in their environment, and it's beautiful, absolutely beautiful. And they even with using that HVAC system and the auto collision repair. Well, it's pretty incredible to see what they do there. He just got CTE Administrator of the Year award. That came from, yeah, so it was a pretty big honor, just to see what they do. It's pretty incredible.
Great. That being said, would we be in agreement to do this as a consent agenda? Since all questions have been answered,
That sounds fine to me.
then I need a motion. All in favor? Aye. Any nays? Hearing none, the motion passes. All right, next, to amend G to E now, or when we get to G?
Let's do it when we get there.
Okay. The next action item is the continuous. Does anyone have any questions on the final version that we've
So this is the final version, or is this a preliminary version, or
It's totally up to the board.
okay.
We have to have it to the state by October 1st, so we can certainly come back on September 22nd. The three of us are here to answer questions. We can certainly take input and have more discussion about it. We can go through it, give more time. Just really want to make sure that the metrics you're comfortable with the metrics and the goals for the year. Any discussion about that, or you want to do it separate, or do it at next time, ask more questions? It's totally up to the board.
I know we briefly sort of brought it up when we were in training, but I think I need a little bit more time to be familiar with it.
Well, with respect to that and the fact that we're missing two other board members, and I think their input needs to be considered as well. We
Absolutely.
Yeah, until the next meeting.
Yep. I'll just point out that starting on page 12 is where the metrics start.
Right.
And then even questions about what any of this, the four-year cohort graduation rate, percentage of students who meet the college-ready benchmarks, percentage who score proficient 8th grade math, 8th grade 6th grade SAT. Then we have the 4 here for the spring IRI. For the literacy. All of those percentages were, I took those from the board, said let's keep the same as last spring because we feel like there might be some regression and we're going to have some more. So all of these numbers, those are where we were the last time that we were. That's the last time. And then down the next piece were the ones that we had talked about. We did several, and after talking to staff, we did a follow-up. Ms. Sexton and Ms. Morrison and I did follow-up, and these are the two that we're suggesting from your input. And so these were totally open to you looking at these. The 80% of staff will participate in 2 or more district-led technology integration, that blended learning capacity building. We thought that would be a good measure, and it would also help the district in the blended learning. And then the iReady was the math. Trustee Thompson, that you were talking about the K-8 students in math.
Yes.
And so that's what we have for that.
Okay.
Those are the 2 we came up with. And then the college and career advising ones, those are every year reported down in this orange section. And then I talked to the CCC counselors, and this is where the next one came. It's on page 15. It's in green. FAFSA. And then the next two below are the, Ms. Sexton came up with these based on the available data we had this past spring. And these are the staffing that she developed. So we do, I just wanted to make sure people didn't have any questions about that or any suggestions that you want us to follow up with before next meeting. But you can certainly read it and then send me an email too, yeah. You don't have to answer it now, I just wanted to make sure.
Okay, we'll just, can I bring a question?
Absolutely, because both of these two are about some of the stuff that I do, so I asked them to be here tonight to get questions.
On the targeted growth for math, the 80% increase, saying they're gonna grow by 80%, but what's our baseline here that we're growing from?
That number, I actually reached out to our representative for iReady. It's a new program that we're using this year where
Okay,
we do a baseline diagnostic assessment in the fall.
okay,
And then it actually provides some personalized, individualized I reached out and asked about a reasonable growth target. He said, well, you want 100% of your kids to meet 100% of their growth targets, but it also needs to be realistic and reasonable. So that was the suggestion. So they will master 80 over the course of the year.
okay. So that 80% is based on a recommendation of 100%, and we're just sort of
Well, he just said
toning it down till we,
to be realistic.
yeah.
And that's why I reached out to the representative, because I wanted to make sure that I was looking at the reports correctly and knowing how to read them so that the goal made sense.
And this is an assessment program.
The state pays for us for K2 and we purchased for 3rd through 8th.
Okay,
So that we have consistent data at K8. It only goes to 8th grade. But that way, all of our buildings, when they're doing their data days and looking at student growth in math, we're all looking at the same and having the same conversations.
does this assessment flow with the math programs that we're using? As far as what the classroom's teaching, and then we do the assessment?
No,
And-
not like that.
Okay,
So when they take the diagnostic in the fall, it's the end. So they'll be 13% proficient, really low number. But then as we go through our instructional calendar and our program, and we teach those skills each month that they're doing their
Okay.
And then, the expectation would be that 100% of our kids are reaching 100% of their goals and
Right.
targets, but we just know that sometimes we have kids that need a little bit more time to get there, so that's why for this year at least, he suggested, since we're new to it, 80 was more realistic.
Okay.
I think it aligned to the
No.
materials we're using,
It's not aligned with the instructional pacing calendar
but
because
the materials we're using. I think
it's all aligned to our standards.
Yes, that's what
And our
I think that's what she
standards,
was asking.
yeah, so our instructional calendar is aligned to the standards, and this is 100% aligned to the standards.
Okay.
It's just there's not an assessment after we teach a unit on addition and subtraction. Isn't on that.
I just want to make sure by the time we take the assessment at the end of the year,
We have
that
covered
we've
all
hit the
this.
concepts that are going to be in the assessment.
Yes.
Okay,
Sorry,
That's what I thought you were
Yeah.
saying.
I misunderstood your
no
question.
worries, no,
Yeah.
not a problem. But thank you for clarifying.
You're welcome. Any
Appreciate
other questions before I sit down?
So 80% of the students and not 80% of the skills.
80% of the students are
Okay.
master 80% of the skills.
Okay.
We're going to work toward getting to 100.
It says I think I need to clarify. All standard 8 will reach, so 100% of the students will reach 80% of their growth goals. Target
Oh, I'm
goals.
sorry, yes. I'm sorry, I don't have that in front of me.
Yeah.
All students will reach 80% of their growth.
Yes.
Yes. And the growth goals, because we haven't seen. I just wasn't really clear how to write that goal, and so Vicky at iReady helped me with that. So.
And I do think that's fairly lofty. Math is, I know, I let.
But you can do it.
No, I let Lisa write this goal, I was a little nervous about
yeah.
this.
So, you know, and we provide the support.
Yeah.
If we don't get there, we're gonna get close, but I've always been of the mindset that I'd rather have a higher lofty goal and that we're all working hard to get to instead of settling for.
Excellent.
In first year for everything, we can always look at it and revise it for the following.
And it will give us some good information too, because remember last year we spent a lot of time looking at our math instructional calendars because concepts that need to be covered prior to the state assessment. So I'm hoping that this assessment is going to give us some information about how well we put our instructional calendar together, and there may be some things that show up in the spring that we see as oh, we missed that, we've got to go back and fix that in the calendar.
So when will they be doing the iReady? And then is there a state exam as well?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, they get tested a lot in May, unfortunately, but in order to know that the program that we purchased is helping us, we need to do that final assessment to make sure that we're seeing the growth that we should be seeing. And then we also want to see if they did show that they mastered all of their third. So those are some things that we said.
Okay. So we're not charting growth within the SIP plan on ISAT scores, only on the iReady. Okay.
Yeah, the ISAT scores. If you remember back when we talked about curriculum and I talked about that little box that we seem to bounce around in for math. And it's not just Lakeland, it's the entire state. There's something with and the fact that our teachers aren't allowed to see the assessment.
Okay.
Remember we talked about that?
We did.
But a big aha for our teachers was prior textbook didn't have things taught in the order that they need to be taught in order to be ready for the assessment. So
Okay.
ready. Not just standards in general, which is what the other one was.
We have 8th grade math and 6th grade.
Math instruction, and we know where we've got the right scope and sequence in our those right math ISAT scores go up.
Okay. Perfect. And then on the 80% of staff will participate in 2 or more district-led blended learning capacity building trainings. Why is it only 80%?
I think 80% is also lofty. Okay. Because for us, some people already know how to do it. So some people aren't going to participate in the capacity building because they feel like they've already done it. They dove in last spring. They've done their own training over the summer.
Okay.
I do feel like if the technology department is providing these, we had talked about it in our workshop, it would be good if we have a whole library of from beginning to intermediate to advanced.
Right.
Yeah, I would like to see my goal would be 80% of the staff goes in and participates in one of those trainings, 2 of those trainings.
And with the LOA.
Every teacher blended learning teacher this year because they're
Right.
doing their recording, and if their students are out for self-isolation or quarantine and so every teacher needs to participate
Okay,
and be a blended learning teacher.
okay.
So I'm just hoping this will be something where I can encourage them to a whole library.
Okay. So if a teacher is already proficient, they're not going to weigh in on this 80%,
Well,
correct?
they might, I'm hoping they still will, and we'll
Okay.
have signups, so we'll see how many people participate, but
Okay, okay.
it might not be a full 80% if some people feel like they're already learned trial by doing, trial by error, which I.
Trial by fire.
Trial by fire, yes.
Got it, okay. I'd like to make a motion to table the until our next board meeting, which is September 22nd.
22nd.
I'll make a motion that we table it until our next board meeting, table the SIP until our next board meeting is September 2020.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Now, oopsies. Okay, we need to amend action item number 2E. 2110C lesson plan. That is the correct number. To amend item G2E 2100C lesson plan to plan.
I'll make a motion to amend item G2E from 2100C lesson plan to 2110C lesson.
Trustee Major, I was missing a 1 in that number,
Yeah,
so we're just changing.
it's just
the
a clerical
policy
error,
as
that's
such
it.
as that.
Okay, okay.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries.
Based on that, we have we don't necessarily need to read through all of these policies that are C's. These are COVID-related, COVID-specific policies that have been recommended by ISBA to add to our policy layout. And the intention is to add a segment that's stating COVID policies and related to COVID, and that when the pandemic goes away or there is no longer a need for COVID-related policies, then that policy section can come off of our policy.
The board would make a motion to
Yes.
suspend them all.
Correct. So these COVID policies, there are more to come, but there's a lot of them. So the policies were the most significant to get out there right this second. We will just approve the COVID policies and put them under the COVID umbrella on the policies page. For application, they do override the current policy that we have in place. That being said, some of these policies are brand new. We don't have them on our policy place. So we also have to then get the actual policy on our policy page. You're furrowing, so are you questioning which ones we don't have? I'm just curious.
I was just thinking correct to say they're all highlighted in green?
Yes.
Yes, those, the ones that are all highlighted in green are policies we don't have currently in place, and that's all ISB language.
And some of these are all green
Correct.
because they're a new COVID C policy, so that's why they're all in green.
But this is some of the same language,
Yes.
so I won't know what's updated. I guess that's
And
why
I
I was.
can help you with that. In most of them, there's virtual online language that's added to our policies.
Yes, like the, the student dress during health was added to that policy, was specifically about masks and the fact that you can't have yucky stuff on your mask. Make it a solid color. So there were some minor, very minor tweaks to the policy. But then like 1700, we don't even have on, but we believe that that's just a new number that they just cropped up
Yeah,
with.
the 1700s.
The 1700s, yes. So we're what we need to get out for our families to be fully aware of what's really overriding. And what we found with the majority of these policies, I am a member of the policy committee, was that they just added specific language relevant to COVID and face mask, hand sanitizing, those types of languages. So
there were 26 policies altogether for COVID specific. Of the 26 policies, they 18 of them actually we have existing policies, but they needed the COVID language. And when we looked through it, instead of marring ours all up, it was easier just to take what they gave us, plop it under COVID and call it good, which suspended our existing. So
That makes
there's
sense.
only 8 brand new ones.
thank you.
Yeah.
So that being said, approving these policies to carry under the COVID umbrella. So then I need a motion to approve the temporary COVID C policies as presented and to be suspended when deemed necessary by the board.
As presented and to be suspended when deemed necessary by the Board of Trustees.
I'll second that.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries. Okay, the next action item is to approve or deny the release of certified employee 0909 from the 2020-2021 contract. We did receive a resignation letter for this employee.
Approve the release of the certified employee 09082020 from their 2020-2021 contract.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye, that's right, I missed it.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries. And
Do I need to redo that since I left the A out?
You're okay.
Okay. We now need to amend the agenda. Action item G5 to read approve, deny to allow certified employee 09.08.2020-B to take 1-year leave of absence. Would someone like to make that motion?
Okay. Amend the agenda to add G5, right?
Yeah.
I don't have that.
Here, I'll show you.
No,
It's this one.
no, I don't have that. Is that? G5 to read, approve to allow certified employee 0908-2020-B to take 1 year leave of absence. You see, it's not on there.
Trustee Major, yes, I can tell you that I'm gonna reshare with you, you're on the posted agenda.
Okay.
It doesn't have all the attachments. So we'll want you to be on the agenda that has all your attachments. So it's gonna show up at the top of your email right now.
Does anyone have any questions about this action item? Okay, we have a motion. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chrissy.
All right, now I need a motion to either approve or deny to allow certified employee 09.08.2020-B to take 1 year leave of absence. We did receive a letter from the employee regarding this. Does anyone have any questions or discussion about this matter? Approve or deny to allow certified employee 09.08.2020-B to take 1 year leave of absence.
Yes.
Okay.
The motion to approve to allow the certified employee 0908-2020-B to take 1 year leave of absence.
Opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries. And that moves us on to discussion items. We have a first read of 5 policies. Abby, do you have any questions? Ramon and I we're on the committee.
That I really appreciate you guys doing all this and.
No worries.
No, I hope all this cleaned up.
It's actually very interesting.
And it's a group effort, and we're not the only ones in there.
No, we're not.
And Brooke and everybody else that might show up depending on the policy, yeah,
Yeah. It's been great.
good,
It's
yeah.
great.
Mhm.
We're trying to have some diversity, so you're meeting different people, so
Right.
ask different people to go, so that, I mean, I think it's a good way for you to meet the different admin, and I'll have different people go each time.
Yeah.
It's important.
Yeah.
That's a good idea.
Ramona, did you see anything or have her proposed or cleaned up?
I did not.
Okay, me neither. Okay,
No, kudos to Chrissy for getting all the chicken
Yes.
scratch.
thank you, Chrissy.
Chairman Thompson? On 270, acceptable internet use.
Okay, are you on the current, the new, or
It
the
says-
version?
Yeah, so do I propose new, so that's where I can see the green, okay.
So this is the messiest one if I
Yeah, it's
can. And
I like to see it when it's crossed out in the news in
Yeah,
green, because then
it's-
I know what's gone, it's gone.
biggest,
And
but
it,
they made it a procedure to go along with it instead of having to.
any other questions, Dr. Meyer?
No, I really like that, we'll have to move down with this one.
Yeah, it was a good call on getting it updated, especially given how much we have active now online.
Yeah,
it's
I
important.
really like that.
Any questions on the immunizations, taking office, school closure with accompanying procedures, which that was broken apart because the previous policy had them combined. So we took the school closure and it's a couple sentences and then the procedures. Annual goals and objectives. Okay, well, that being said, is on these policies? Anyone? Okay. Are there any items to place on future agendas? Or, okay, any input for future agenda items? Let me rephrase that.
I think we have enough out into the future with just policies and everything else.
It's very true.
I don't have anything to add.
Okay, it should be noted that in the minutes from the scroll up here, hold on a second, so I don't speak incorrectly. The where did it go? 25th, no, yeah. Back on the agenda, so do we need to back out there, or shouldn't they be coming on the next
Yes.
agenda?
Yep.
Okay. All
For
right,
sure on September 22nd.
perfect, that sounds great. All right, well, ladies,
All are good.
okay, it's 7:18, meeting adjourned.
I think that was record time.
Good job, Michelle.
You're a natural.